one of the match of the weekend contenders, in my opinion. Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. Holy cow. That match, I think, is going to be up there, and probably I want to rewatch it again, but I think based off of my first reaction, definitely I would say probably top 5 for me ever. Like not
Yeah,
even women, just wrestling match ever. Like
yeah. I texted in my group that Ray and Dom stole the show, and they immediately hit me with
yeah.
Charlotte and Rhea hands down. And I agree to an extent. Still, I think I was just more invested in the storyline,
Oh yeah.
so that it wears the bias. But the match itself that Rhea and Charlotte had, and I remember what I said. This was gonna be a fight. This was
Yep.
gonna be just an absolute slobber knocker of a match, and it was. I mean, I don't think I've seen a match of two women like this hit as hard as they did, and really put each other through hell.
Yeah.
And it was one of those matches where it could have main evented on its own if it wasn't for the bloodline.
And that's what I said too. I feel like this was going to be a good match no matter when it was. It could have been the first match, it could have been the last match. It doesn't matter. We probably would have gotten the exact same match. But I think that they may have had extra adrenaline, extra motivation because they didn't get to main event. And even though, Charlotte spoke about it and she said that she wouldn't be mad if they didn't main event because she was even invested in the bloodline storyline. So she would understand if they were the ones. But she said, of course, like even I agree that if the men always win the Royal Rumble and get the main event, then the women should be respected in the same way. And so I 100% agree with that because it makes it seem like the women and the men are still not treated fairly, even though you have a women's Royal Rumble and a men's Royal Rumble. It's not viewed the same. So I get that. And I think that, yeah, they proved that they could have been the main event had had the hottest thing in wrestling not been the bloodline right now. Like I think that was probably a very difficult decision for Triple H, especially because it was Charlotte and Rhea. They were NXT originals, so I can't imagine it was an easy decision. But I mean, that match, I was just sitting there in awe the entire time. I just couldn't. It was just like it wasn't even a match that had one good spot. It was just
No, it was
like
a ton of them.
boom,
Yeah,
boom, boom, boom. And like I said, at some point, it felt like Charlotte was trying to injure herself because
yeah.
of all these crazy things that she was doing. I was like, what are you doing? Are you trying to die?
You,
Like,
yeah,
what
it
are
was
you
insane that
doing?
what if like what you would try next. It's just
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah. And I love that for Rhea, especially because we know as long as Charlotte has a competent opponent, and I'm saying this because excluding Ronda Rousey, she's always going to have a good match. Like it's not a question. You don't ever have to question a Charlotte Flair
Mhm.
match. But I love that Rhea was at her level the entire match. They complimented, they worked with each other so well. I'm glad that that Rhea wasn't overshadowed by Charlotte. I feel like it was very fair. I mean, you could even argue maybe Rhea looked better. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying there isn't an argument that you could say that Charlotte stole it. It was very well put together. And shout out to Jason Jordan because he put that match together.
The match was unbelievable. I mean,
And for Jason Jordan, who's relatively new to producing,
yeah, that was
that's incredible. Especially he wasn't like wrestling in WWE for that long.
no, no, he wasn't.
So
So it's sometimes that's why I love seeing who produce matches sometimes because it's not always the biggest names. It's these guys that we're just mid-level wrestlers, but
like
their
yeah.
IQ and mind
Yeah.
for the art and the business, they just see things differently. And it was like to see him put on that. It's like, all right, he's got a little role there. Okay.
Yeah. I and that was a really I think, like I said, they had the extra motivation. I wouldn't be surprised too if part of them was like they wanted the crowd to be tired too by the time that they
Yeah.
got to the main event because usually they try to like space those things out so they know that this match isn't going to be as big And so it's like, okay, that's the perfect one to go on before the main event because then they'll be ready. No, this one, it was like, oh, okay, the show's over. And then you're like, wait, no, it's not. And then you're like all like unexpectedly tired to watch the main event. And then the main event, of course, was great too. But